I'd like you all to remember a time when you found it hard to look forwards to the future and spot the opportunity. Now, in June 2021, I'm on a Zoom call with my friend, and she's got long, blonde, wavy hair, huge personality, and actually quite an inspiration. And I said to her, Shelley, do you know, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity, because if somebody had said to me over a year ago that I would be doing this, I would have said that they were completely crazy. Because when my boss made me redundant after being with the company for 23 years, I was absolutely devastated. My world collapsed around me. And every bit of confidence that I had just completely went out the window. And that was despite all the contributions that I made to the company. And ironically, including the strategy that I shaped for their new organisation, which they didn't want me to be a part of anymore. Now, the thing is, the irony of that whole situation is not only was I made redundant, I set up my own company. And guess who my first client was? The company that made me redundant. And they paid me more money because I was a consultant and I was at more risk. But the thing is, you know when you're just drifting along and everything seems to be okay, but it just isn't quite right. And it wasn't until you asked me to write this chapter in the book, and I started this journey to actually share my story and talk about it, that I realised I had so much to offer. And I want to thank you for that, Shelley. And Shelley's like, that's just fantastic, Keely. I really, really appreciate that. But what are you going to do next? Where are you going to go? I was like, well, if I'm honest, I spent so much time doing strategy and development and change and delivery, all those kind of things. And now I haven't got that. I'm a bit lost and I don't know what to do. And she said, do you know what, Keely? What do you love? Who do you serve? And I said, I thought about it for a second. I said, do you know what I really, really love? I love training and coaching people. I love seeing that development and that light in their eyes when they get a new idea or a new inspiration. I said, and that just makes me feel so warm inside. And she said, well, if I'm honest, I think you found your why. So why don't you do that? So, well, that's great, but how do I make that happen? And that was until a month later, and I'm sat in my garden, sunbathing. The weather is amazing. I've got my shorts on, t-shirt, gin and tonic in hand, slices of orange, peppercorns, lots of ice, all set up for the day. But to be honest, today's not all about relaxing, it's also about learning. And there he is on the screen in front of me in my box office, protecting my laptop from the sun. And he's got short blonde, spiky hair, tan face, bright white teeth and a big smile. I'm sure you all know who we're talking about here. It's Andy Harrington. So he's like, hey, 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 this is Andy Harrington. And I'm here today with my Serve and Sell event to help you reach more clients and teach them what you know. And I think that is just amazing. It's as if he's talking to me. So I sit and I listen and I watch the presentation, and he showed us these systems, he showed us these frameworks, and he showed us storytelling. And I'm like, yeah, storytelling, like that's ever going to happen. Anyway, I carried on watching the presentation and I was just like, I was absolutely hooked. So I signed up to Andy Harrington's speaker program. And that's how I managed to create my own framework. And the thing is, have you ever had a time where you just can't put a name to something or a label? And sometimes I actually struggle to think of my own name. I mean, even right now, to be quite honest. But after much deliberation, I was talking to one of my friends, and she's one of these ladies, you know the sort, perfect Bob, sophisticated, classy lady, always looks amazing. And she says to me, "Oh, Keely, why don't you do something associated to dragonflies? I mean, after all, earrings, necklace, I've even got a tattoo of it. Not going to show it right now, though." And I said, "Well, that's great, but how do I associate dragonflies to a business?" So she said, "Well, why don't you look it up?" So I looked on the web. And guess what it said? It said metamorphosis, transformation, new beginnings, new paradigms, vision, everything I stood for and what my business represented and my framework. And that's how Metamorphosis Success became reality. And when I looked at Irene, the smile on my face said everything. And she knew that I'd found not only my why, but my name. And now I'd like to share with you the framework that I am helping to support and guide my clients with. Because where am I now? First of all, I trialled my why with my husband, which is really nice of him, I have to say. And when I went through that process with him, I not only helped him to find his why, I managed to help him unlock something that had been bothering him for many years and caused him a lot of anxiety. And he's been able to move forwards. And secondly, I've been able to help my client Lisa with her business, and I've been able to help her to find her why, was to establish overall control of not only of her well-being, but in everything that she does, because she's never been able to do that before. And thankfully, she's now been able to not only step away from the business that she set up and ended up working for, she stepped away from that organisation, determining her requirements and how that was actually going to move forwards. And on top of that, she's now successfully running her own business again and in control of her own destiny. And finally, I've been helping a large organisation, a non-profit making business, a charity, to help them find their why. I've been helping them to solidify it, build their strategy, and help them to build their objective, which is essentially to make sure that they manage food in a far more sustainable way and ensure the whole of Sheffield gets fed. What an amazing thing to be part of. And all of that has been achieved using my visionary paradigm philosophy. Dragonflies, as you see. And it's got 4 key skills. And the first skill is identify. And what does identify mean? That's the ability for you to be able to identify with the face of your business and why it exists. And if you don't know what your why is, then how do you know where you're going? How do you know what you're doing? And how can you move forwards? You're simply existing on a destination to nowhere. It's rather like booking a flight on a holiday somewhere and you actually don't know where the destination is. You take off in the plane, you start flying around, fuel runs out and it just lands, and you just land anywhere. And the result of that, it means that if you don't know what your why is, then how do your customers know what your why is? How do your employees or potential ones know what your why is? And why would they come work for you or buy from you as opposed to anybody else? Now, my face-finding facilitator not only helps you to find your why, but it also provides you a pathway to success. Secondly, is influence. And what does influence mean? And that is the ability for you to be able to share what lies at the heart of your business and what you truly stand for. Because would you not agree with me that if you don't know what your business stands for, how can you shape the culture of your brand and your organisation and what it truly represents? And as a result of that, it sends mixed messages within your business. And potentially, you might have a situation where there's a lack of contribution. People don't want to share ideas. They don't want to talk to each other. You get that silo mentality and people are not cooperating. And as a result of that, you could end up with a negative brand, which obviously It means that your customers or employees potentially don't want to buy from your work with you. Now, my heartbeat harmoniser enables you to shape the culture of your organisation and build a brand that you truly stand for and what you represent. So it means that you end up being the customer or employee of choice. Thirdly is intention. And that's the intention as a true leader to provide strong leadership and strong leadership with consistency in all that you do. Because would you agree with me? If you're not consistent in your behaviour, that gives mixed messages to your team. And then they feel demotivated, they don't want to share ideas, they won't challenge and question you when there's a need to, because they don't feel that you've got their back. And that potentially could create a toxic environment. And my supportive mind shaper not only helps you to establish what your mindset and beliefs are and create an environment that people want to work in, it means that they also want to share ideas. They want to challenge and question because they know that they've got your support. And they would want to actually work with you as a business because the culture that you've created. And finally is implements. And what does implements mean? That's the ability to implement using sharp, robust tools and systems to help you to deliver not only your why, but your how and your what. And would you agree with me that if you don't know what your strategy is as a business, then how can you deliver your why? You know what you want to do, you just don't know how to actually get there. And without that, you're also not able to establish what your future business would look like, what the growth would look like, the type of people that you would want to work there, the skills that are required to achieve that. And the result of that is, again, that you've got an organisation that makes it hard for you to move forwards quickly. Now, what I've created is the Sharp Evolution Accelerator that not only helps you to build a strategy, it helps you to build a pathway of change to achieve that. It helps you to define the growth of the organisation that you want to actually move forwards with, and also the type of skill sets and capabilities you need to achieve that. And the result of which, you become the company of choice that everybody wants to work with and for. Now, sometimes, yes, it is hard to spot the opportunity when you look forward in the future. And yet, sometimes it can be a catalyst to something beautiful. So thank you.